Alright, so today I brought out a VCR. Old school VCR. Gross. Okay, so after that big wind-up, it turns out that A, had the wrong tape, B, my capture card wouldn't actually capture the VHS, C, I wasted my afternoon trying to figure that out. And the whole point of all of that was to show you some awkward footage of me as a 10-year-old running a TV show. So instead, here's some awkward footage of me trying to make some YouTube videos. And you can, now this, but log profiles are essentially so awkward. So the whole point of me showing you all that awkward footage and wanting to show you that weird footage of me as a kid is to talk about a simple idea of how to be comfortable talking in front of camera. So I don't really consider myself as someone who is particularly comfortable in front of camera. The amount of time I spend staring at the camera not knowing what to say is, well, it's my secret and I'm not telling you. The point is, for a lot of us, being on camera is something that is more and more common. This is something I've kind of worked towards over a long time, and a lot of the tips that I'm going to be talking about today are things that I've come up with while actually working with clients. So I work with a lot of clients who have to come to talk to a camera and they've never done it before. They're not actors, they're not performers, they don't have that history. And so it's up to me to kind of coach them through the process and get them used to the idea of talking to a piece of glass as opposed to a human, and essentially understand how it is you're supposed to use this tool to connect with other people. And so here are a few tips to help you feel more comfortable in talking to a camera. To start things off, my number one tip is to understand this one fundamental idea. You are only talking to one person. You aren't talking to the entirety of the human race. You're talking to one person, and that's the person watching this video. So for me, I have someone in my mind right now that I'm talking to, right? So it's like talking through a video call. I'm just looking at the lens and I'm focusing on this person because I want them to understand what I'm trying to tell them. Now you might be watching this and wondering, who is this person that he's talking to? It's you. I'm only talking to you. I'm not talking to all these other people in the room. It's just you. Ignore them. They don't matter. It's just me and you right now. And everyone in the room with you will be like, oh, he's talking to me. But really, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you. Just remember that. It's a true story. So the reason why that's so important is that when people step in front of the camera, they're thinking about everyone who's watching them. When really, one person is watching at a time. No matter how many views, even if you get millions of views, only one person is watching at a time. And the only person that is actually important is the person who's going to get value from the video, right? The person who's going to learn the thing you're trying to tell them or get an understanding of something that they didn't know before. The only person that you should be focused on when you're presenting to camera is the person who's actually going to appreciate the video and understand what you're trying to say. And so for this video, I'm actually thinking of a very specific person when I'm talking to camera. And that person's name is Kat. She asked me about this video. She wanted some advice on how to talk to camera and how to address camera and how to feel comfortable being in front of a camera. So that's my first point. Imagine the person who's going to benefit from this video the most. Now the next advice I give is to know exactly what you're going to be talking about. Or rather, you need to know the root of what you're talking about and you need to stick to a single subject. One problem that I notice with people who come to film with me is sometimes they bring 100 ideas, right? Or maybe they've got one idea, but there's 100 different parts to it and they want to talk about everything. But for a video, you only have enough time to make a small point. You want to stay concise and you want to stick to the topic at hand, right? So for this video, I'm just talking about being comfortable in front of a camera. I'm not talking about finer points of acting. I'm not talking about performance. I'm not talking about how to articulate yourself well. We're just talking about being comfortable in front of the camera. So if you're planning a video or a series of videos, it's important to remember that you actually want to keep your ideas small and manageable. You want to keep one idea per video and keep it as concise as you possibly can. The next step is preparation. Being prepared goes a long way. Now that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. One of the things that I recommend is if you're working from a script, that you practice it over and over again. If it's a specific script that you're reading, and maybe you're reading from a teleprompter, or maybe you're just trying to memorize what you're saying, it's important to memorize as much as you can. And if you can get to this point, which is like the perfect point, is to be able to not only memorize it and say it back, but to say it back at double time. When you're in front of the camera, you slow things down, and that actually gives you time to enunciate the right words, to have emphasis in the right places, and to really get out the things that you're trying to say. Now for me, with these videos, all I really do is I write them out as a list in point form, and I think about them ahead of time. I imagine, what are the things that I want to talk about? How do I keep it concise? What are the primary points that I need to make? Now, one thing that catches people up are things like ums and ahs, and we all have our own quirks to how we speak, and you start to see that once you've been in front of the camera for a long time. And with all of that, it's worth remembering that you can take your time. If you make a mistake, it's worth just going back a sentence and just starting over. Take your time. It makes it easier for the editor, and also it makes it easier on yourself. If you're worried about getting things done right and perfect and great, you're gonna probably stumble. If you relax, know that you have time to practice it, say it over and over again. I've said a lot of these lines a few times in saying this. This isn't all recorded back to back. You can see all the cuts of where I've stumbled. And I don't mind sharing that. I don't mind showing that. So preparation is great, but one of the things that I really recommend to people is to come in feeling good, right? So not only should you be dressing appropriately for your audience, maybe a hoodie and t-shirt isn't perfect, but I'm just hanging out today and you're here to hang out with me. So you want to dress in a way that's appropriate, but you also want to dress in a way that makes you feel good. So it's probably not worth wearing something extremely formal if it's not making you feel comfortable in front of the camera. If wearing something else would make you feel a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, that'll let your personality come through and people will have a better understanding of who you are. Giving people the appropriate understanding of who you are will help you connect with the right people, right? So you don't necessarily want to connect with everyone. You want to connect with the people who are right for what you do and for what your message is. And my last major piece of advice is really to just relax. And remember that you are your worst critic. No one else is going to be looking at this video the way you are. You're going to see all the imperfections that no one else is going to be seeing. Even the people who've known you for years won't catch the things that you're thinking about. So it's important to remember that none of it matters and just focus on the content. Because that's all that matters. That's all people will be paying attention to. Nobody's going to be picking you apart, and if they are, they don't matter. They're not the person who's going to be getting value from your video, and they're not the person you're going to be focusing on. So again, just remember that one person, because that's all that matters. So, if this video has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions about feeling comfortable in front of the camera, or if you have your own tips that you found over the years, please leave them in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button and follow along, and more things will be coming. Strange, magical things. Yep, that's all I got. I spent all day making this video. I actually recorded the meat of it in like half an hour. Amazing. Good old 80s technology. And current technology not working well together? Fabulous.